Frank, let's talk about you. You must be choked, pissed off, gutted that the TKV fight was postponed.
Pissed off, mate.
Yeah.
You've done your training camp. I've invested heavily in this training camp because this is a very important fight for me. And despite what everyone thinks, because the boxing world, everyone talks, and despite what everyone thinks about the fact that Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley are on the same date, and for whatever reason this fight's happening, I couldn't care about the other show on this day. Guess what I care about? Fighting, winning the British title, and getting paid. And now that's been moved back a few weeks, which isn't the end of the world, but now I've had to have a little bit of a break, a little pause in my training, a little bit of an easier week this week, and we'll ramp it up again from next week. It's just not ideal, but then again, injuries happen, don't they? If it is an injury.
And it's not an easy thing to do,
you got a doubt
is it?
about that? No, there's no doubt about that. Why? If he's going to fight you in 2 weeks, he's going to fight you in 2 weeks, isn't he?
Well...
What? Get it off your chest.
I had a letter. I was seeing that doctor's letter saying that you can't fight the 25th, but can commence training the 27th. Now, if you commence training the 27th, and we're going to fight 4 weeks after that, so you're telling me you're having... I found this out early last week. You're having 2 weeks off now.
What was the injury, by the way? What did he pull out for?
I think something to do with the rib, so I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and that made me suspicious as well. A rib injury. You can have some time off now, then come back 2 weeks, then 2 weeks training for a British title fight. I wouldn't say that would be great preparation. Or is it the fact that Ben Davison can't be there because he's going to be with Fabio Wardley? Does he need his hand holding by Ben Davison? I don't know.
What do you think to that, Paul?
Got a point? Listen, I don't know. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not for me to say. You'll have to believe whatever excuse, whatever valid reason, whether it be valid or not. Only they will know. But
Makes no difference.
It's all part and parcel of the game.
Yeah,
I know. And it's the worst
feeling
going
head to head with
another
a big heavyweight clash for sure.
That's not my problem.
It's not your problem. That's what I was going to say. And what I wanted to say is...
What do you think, though, Frazer, though, given the fact that, scheduling fight dates and having them clash is a ball ache, isn't it? Because you want to be you're on terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
You don't really want Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker fighting on the same night, do you?
Not really.
I know you can't control that.
Not really, Simon, but at the same time, Frazer Clarke is fighting for the British title on this day. He's getting paid that much. That doesn't change. That doesn't change. That doesn't change whether... Obviously, it'd be fantastic.
No, but it detracts from the attention that you get, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
So is it something you talk to your promoters about? Would you say to your promoter, if you can possibly help it, schedule me where I can be a standalone rather than and also? I mean,
we could have done it on the Friday. I've boxed on a Sunday before. We could have done it on the Friday. There's lots of questions. Do you know what I mean? But basically, I want to fight, and that's the top one. As a fighter, I'm not interested in too much of why it's not. These people sit there in suits and behind desks and they get paid a lot of money to sort these things out. Do you know what I mean? So that's not my...
How difficult is it for you, the fight takes place a month after now? What I'm saying is, obviously you train to peak on that day. We all do that, and it's very difficult to get it right. Sometimes you may just miss it, train over a little, sometimes you're under-trained just a little. How difficult is it for that slight adjustment? A month is still a month.
That's why I employ a team. That's why I pay a team, mate.
And I also think, and I don't mean any disrespect in this whatsoever, I think it's a bit easier for the heavyweights.
The weight
cost into the weight. They always stay at the same weight. Obviously, they stay strong.
People like to say, that's why I have a team. That's why I employ people and pay people to sort that out. Do you know what I mean? What I'll do now is I'll listen to what I've been told to do this week. If we were still fighting on the Saturday, I wouldn't be here today, would I?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So, this week I'm allowed to have a little more of a relaxed week in terms of the training because I'm going to have to pick it up again next week to go into the 29th of November.
Can I ask you, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute because that's another clash of dates with someone else, and I'll ask you about that in a second. When you were last on with myself and Jim asked you this lovely question. Right?
I've just seen him on the way out. I've just pulled him.
Right, your mate Jim, which you handled very well, I thought, because it was a strange question for Jim to ask, and me and Spencer going, right? But it's kind of been weaponised by some of these little snot-gobbling, YouTubers.
Yeah.
Does it bring out a reaction in you when you see someone like Fabio Wardley fighting Joe Parker and the magnitude of that fight? Does it bring anything out in you? Or do you look at yourself going, no, I'm 2-3 fights away from big time again?
Yeah, absolutely, because when I look at it, we can't forget the second fight with Fabio. I got chinned, it happened. Yeah. But the first fight was razor close. Some people might say I won it.
It was.
So if Fabio's at that level, and then closer to now, there was talks of Dave Allen beating, if he won his fight, was going to go on to fight Andy Joshua or Deontay Wilder and be put in certain rankings. I beat him in 6-7 rounds, whatever it was. So, you know, it is a bit frustrating. But
You're sort of one fight away, really, aren't you? Let's have it right. You are literally in the heavyweight.
The British title, that's the way I'm looking at it. The British title now is sort of a gateway. I think you crash the top 15, top 20 of the world. I do. You know, if you win the British title at the minute, that's just the way the landscape is for now. And like I say, if there's all these talks of, if Fabio was world class, he's world class now, and he's had a couple of fights since me.
So what was I then in that fight?
And Dave Allen was getting projected into that conversation. Yeah. I don't know where I'm at. That's what was. That's for me to show.
Who's on your hit list? I mean, you're not going to look past Jeamie TKV, but in your mind, you're going to assume that you're going to win this fight, right? Yeah. So who do you like? Who do you would like to be fighting as a progressive opportunity for yourself?
When I win this fight, I looked at Makhmudov and I thought, you know what? He's going to be looking. He's looking that way. But around that level, I've seen him. Guido Vianello, he just had a really good win over in the States, and now he's calling in for Anthony Joshua. Around that level, you know, I feel like I can go in there and compete with anyone. If Fabio Wardley or Joseph Parker got injured tomorrow and I got the phone call, believe me, I would jump in at that level. And people are going to say, "Oh, you're crazy," and they're only saying that because I got knocked out by Wardley. But before that, you know, things were different.
We're watching on screen now Dave Allen fight Makhmudov. I mean, what did you make of Dave's performance? Frank Warren made some unkind comments about if Dave Allen gets caught by Makhmudov, he should get done for loitering, and called it a donkey derby and stuff and things like that. What did you make of the performance?
It was gutsy.
Of both fighters. It
was gutsy, as it always is from Dave. It was probably good for him. I don't think it was a particularly good performance personally. Makhmudov was good. I don't think that was. I didn't look at that and think, oh, this guy's on another level. You know, like, you know when you watch a Moses Atuma fight, and you come away and you think, oh my God, like that boy's dangerous. I thought Makhmudov was big and he was dangerous, but I didn't think he was outstanding. And that's not me taking his flowers away. I think he did what he needed to do to beat Dave Allen. I think there would have been a few heavyweights that would have done the same thing on that evening. But obviously, I was messaging Dave in the week, and he sort of told me he wanted to drag him into deep waters, but he didn't sort of have the ability to take him to deep water and then take over. That's a really different level of fitness, I think.
Who'd you like to see Frazer and Paul?
Some good fights out there. Makhmudov will be great, but listen, I'm old school, and I think you should keep your mind focused.
Oh no, I am absolutely.
No, he will do that.
No, of course, I agree with that. And I don't want to be disrespectful to him as well. You know, I don't know him. I know of him. Obviously, I've met him a couple of times when I've seen him at shows. And it's a decent fight.
No, it's one
that I do think you can win. I do think you should win it, and I do think becoming British champion and holding that British title for you will be great after the amateur pedigree and the success that you had and the setback that you've had.
I probably made the mistake of taking my eye off the ball and looking that way. I've made that mistake now. It won't happen again. And
I say about yourself all the time. No, people forget the experience you've got and the people you've been in the ring with.
There's a lot of them.
And you had 2 full Olympic cycles with top fighters all the way through. And I've always been interested to know, like who is the best you think that you've been in the ring with, sparring wise, fighting wise, any time, full stop.
I'd probably go the big Uzbek that's a professional. Jalalov. Yeah, I think he was.
That's why I didn't mention him as an opponent for you.
No.
I think he's special.
He had the hands and feet of a middleweight. And the punch power of
Southpaw as well.
A Southpaw, 6'6", speed.
He's not looked great in his last couple, though, has he?
As a pro,
he hasn't.
No, he hasn't.
Really rate him,
I commentated on his fight last week, I think
the
it
IBA
was.
show.
And I wasn't very impressed with him. Like, I think he was much better as an amateur than what I've seen as a professional, especially in his last couple of fights.
But do you know what? I think this gets said a lot. The amateur guys that do turn over, it is a process. I know we get projected, but I'm telling you from personal experience, we're far from the ready-made articles. It is a long process, and I've personally find it difficult, the transition. You know, I'm self-admitted. I've not looked great so far. I've had my moments where obviously the Fabio fight was a good fight. I've had the bounce back fight with Tete, and I feel like now in the gym, and I'm starting to find the person that I want to become as a professional fighter.
It's an interesting debate about the amateur background, isn't it? Because on one hand, you've got people saying if you haven't got an amateur background, then you don't have the credentials and the knowledge to be able to fight at a professional level, and you've always got that challenge.
I think the debate is, Simon, if you stay there too long.
Too long.
That's what it is.
Well, everyone says I stay too long.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Do you think you did?
No, because I got what I went for, and because I stayed that long, it did come a bit down to, it was a financial decision as well as a successful decision. If I'd turned professional at the age of 25, my career, I'd be retired now.
Same with yours, though.
Yeah, but
you waited for 2 seconds, you waited for AJ, then you waited for Joyce. You deserve to have your chance as well. You deserve to get your chance to go rather than.
And you talk about them adjustments. You know, in the professional ranks, we never saw that you could make those adjustments until the first Fabio Wardley fight. That's when we go, he's done it. He's flipped. Because before then, you know, it was frustrating watching you against, like, you know, the what was his name?
Marius
Wack. Yeah, you look at that and you go, right, this is a great opponent for you to look good against, and you sort of like you know, you just stumbled over the line.
It was laboured, and like I say, I think understanding who you are as a fighter becomes a massive thing. And you know, when you think you're doing things right, sometimes you have to just strip it back. You need a lot of home truths. You know, the worst thing you can have in boxing is people lying to you. And I feel like, you know, I've probably gone through this experience now, and I feel a better fighter.
The game's full of them people, people lying to fighters and saying, not to sound like it was tougher in my day. I think it's better nowadays for young fighters turning professional to make that transition because of the 3-minute rounds and the no-head guards. It was difficult when it was 2-minute rounds and head guards and more computer scoring like fencing. I do think it's a lot easier, but it's still a different sport.
It really is.
And I think a lot of people underestimate that. When you turn professional, it's a totally different game.
Yeah, 100%.
Talking about amateur careers, obviously we've seen significant amateur careers. We've just seen Ben Whittaker leave boxer, your stable, and go to Matchroom. He's fighting Benjamin Gavese on, ironically, the same night as your rematched fight. Where are you on that decision in terms of leaving boxer and going to Matchroom? Do you think it's the right one for Ben Whittaker? I know you've got to be careful with your relationship.
I haven't really got to be careful, but listen, Ben's my friend before anything.
Yeah.
I was his captain for the Olympic squad. Right. I've known him since he was a young lad. I've seen him develop. Ben Whittaker is always going to do what Ben Whittaker wants to do. That's the personality, that's who he is. Yeah. And I listen, people probably ain't gonna, I wish him nothing but the best because he's my friend, and that comes before anything. Do I think it's a good move for him? I just think maybe Eddie and Matchroom are global. And if you look at the sort of the camaraderie between the two already, as you've seen the videos. It looks like, you know, the shoe fits, don't it? But, you know, I just...
Well, Eddie has lovely camaraderie with money. Yeah, and he sees it in Ben Whittaker, doesn't he?
I think most of us
he's a promoter,
do,
that's his job. Yeah. Where are you on Ben Whittaker, the fighter? I mean, we kicked it around. We all like Ben. Ben made some observation the other day that I'm going to turn on him because he's gone to Matchroom. Not true at all. I think he's a great fighter. I think we learned some lessons about him in the Liam Cameron fight, and he didn't answer questions in the first fight. He answered them in the second fight. He did in the second fight what he should have done in the first fight. But where are you? We've kicked it around, just debated it whether he's got enough power as a light heavyweight. You talk about your knowledge of him. How good do you think he is, and do you think he's on a destiny?
I think he made a great decision going to train with Andy Lee, and I think that Andy Lee will recognise, and Ben is smart enough to recognise that he's in a division full of real killers.
Yeah.
He's going
to
that's
his brother
his brother, one who I've known and I've seen Callum from the amateurs.
Yeah.
He took to it like a duck to water. Ben has got all the skill. He has got a very good family behind him. He's now with a good trainer. It's now up to him. I think, But
what do you think? Do you think he's going to be a world champion?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to probably have to. It'll come at the right time. He might have to wait for some people to move on. Would I see him in there with a Callum? Would I see him in there with a Bivol Beterbiev right now? Absolutely not. But he's not stupid. He's more clever than
But he's saying that himself now, isn't he? As well.
How far off do you think he is with the likes of like Joshua Boazzi, Dan Aziz, those sort of guys, even Callum Smith? How far away is he from that?
1 or 2 fights, I think. People are always in a rush. Remember, Ben's a young man. I think he's had 1 fight under Andy Lee, which was with Liam Cameron. I'm not sure who is this guy who is fighting, but I think it's now about picking the right fights for Ben.
Do you agree with that?
He did what he should have did in the first fight. The second fight with Andy Lee.
But by the way, he is 28 years of age. I mean, with respect to Ben Whittaker, who I like a lot, and I've got no issues with the stylistic side of the equation in terms of the showboating. I think it's all great, all grist for the elbow. I think he's more than 2 fights away from fighting your brother.
Yeah, me.
No, not his brother. He said Dan. He said.
Dan Aziz.
Dan Aziz fighting in a couple of fights is a good fight. Not just yet. I don't think not just yet.
Yeah, I wasn't saying Callum.
No, in a few. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sorry, Frazer. Before I close the show, I need to ask you, as I've asked everyone, about my favourite fights. Obviously, Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. Where are you on this? Do you see the same sort of outcomes? What do you think?
Is the weight situation the same? What's going on with that?
Same fight, same.
Exactly, all the same.
I mean, we've had Bo McIntyre in here saying that the reasons why there was a challenge first time round was because the weight management wasn't done properly. This time, forget about it. It'll be done properly. It'll be the only issue is these boys have constantly educated me. It's about weight management going into the fight by managing your weight and losing it in the right way. This time round, he'll lose the right weight in the right way.
It's a boring answer then, isn't it? Unless Conor can change, because I think it was a competitive fight, but I still had Chris winning the majority of the fight. I can only say go on what I've seen last, and that was Chris winning the fight. So I wouldn't change my opinion on that until.
Because you're making a case for Conor now, aren't you?
Why?
You're not. I thought you thought that Conor would close the gap.
No, I said that I think Chris gets the weight right this time.
Right.
Yeah, I think, and so I think that Chris wins the fight easier than he did the last time.
Right.
I think when you look at that was the worst Chris Eubank
could
turn up and the best
colleague,
Conor Benn. So you look at that and you go, Chris, if he hits a weight right, because there was problems with that weight, and I know by making weight, if you miss it, even by an ounce or two, it can affect the performance so badly. And I think that he gets it right this time and the fight becomes easier.
Are you all on board the hype train? You all looking forward to it, Frazer? All of you?
Yeah, because the first one was really good and it was competitive. And that's what I look for in these fights. Are they competitive? Forget the weight and everything. It's actually a well-matched fight. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a million. It's a really good match.
It's a well-matched fight with the bonus, or added bonus for me being a bit older of all the nostalgia. I think that's
you
why
like
it
that.
sells. And
Well, I think that captures a lot of people, doesn't it? Like, do we want to see it again? Of course we do. If you're taking off from the last one, you have to see it again.
Well, you'll be able to have some nostalgia this season because you'll be able to look back on Liverpool having won the Premier League last year but not winning it this year. That'll be your nostalgia, Mr. Smith.
Nah, mate.
I've got no reply to that, to be honest with you, at the moment. But I'll see you next week.
Low blow.